All right.
All right, how we doing, Tony?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Awesome. All right, so we are creeping up on WrestleMania 39. It's
Yeah.
going to be April 1st and April 2nd, I believe. And with WrestleMania being this big weekend event now, there is a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of groundwork that WWE is trying to lay so that both days will have some substance to them. I think that the biggest thing is Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Roman has been the undisputed Universal Champion for a year now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, according to the quote unquote reign, what was it? He's heading towards like 1,000 days or something, or past 1,000 days, or something ridiculous.
He is comfortably past 900.
Yeah.
And so that in and of itself is pretty significant in modern day wrestling. I had also figured by now, because I remember last year thinking, okay, you consolidated both titles into one, but he still walks around with two belts. It's the same thing with the tag team championship. And they really have not done much with the Raw SmackDown unified undisputed tag team championships either. And so, Cody, he debuted last year against Seth Rollins, had a good little run with him before he decided to rip his pec, and he came back at the Rumble.
Yep.
I enjoyed the Rumble. I think it was, kind of a no-brainer that Cody was going to win, and I really struggle seeing anything other than him taking the belts off of Roman. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I mean, my thoughts, I already told you my Rumble thoughts, which I had said that Gunther was the one who stole the show of this Rumble, by putting on the performance that he did. I wish that performance could have lent itself to Cody earlier in the match. I don't know whether they did that just to protect him completely, so he can go into Mania a little injury-free more, or if because the fact that he came in number 30, I mean, they did the hype videos beforehand, and you knew Cody was coming back, and Cody actually made the public announcement that he was coming back on Raw, so that was a no-brainer. But again, like, at least put him in there, like, early numbers, so that way, hey, I'm fighting from underneath, so I can earn this chance. When he came in number 30, the way it looked to me was like, oh, well, how is he not going to win this? Almost like when Cena came in 2008, as we talked about.
Yep.
It was like, oh, man, like, he's coming back early from his injury. Well, Cody did not. Cody actually waited it out, but in Cena's case, he came back early from injury, and he came back in at number 30, so he knew he was going to win it. Like, it was just like, like, not disappointing, but like, kind of like, come on, man, like,
yeah, it was a foregone conclusion once that music hit.
Right, right. And again, it's no disrespect to Cody. I just think that came down to the way it was booked, like, now they're trying to, if you've noticed, they're going the personal route. The last, like, I would say, month or so. They started with Paul Heyman, as we know, and Paul was talking about how he was a disciple of Dusty and all that stuff, and Cody was grateful to Paul because Paul gave Dusty a chance when he basically had no money in the bank and no income coming in, and so they're going the personal route with that. And then it was continued this past Monday, or no, sorry, SmackDown Friday, where it was Roman was, saying how Dusty, basically was one of his kids down in not even NXT, I think Florida Championship Wrestling, back in 2012, 2013 time frame. So they're going with the personal thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's getting me a little more invested into it, because it's like, okay, Cody's going to take it personally, and that that's going to wind his gears, and that's going to make him at least cut these fantastic promos. But sometimes Cody can be a little wordy with his promos. They kind of go over my head sometimes,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He does get a little speechy. That meeting with him and Paul, where Cody talked about when Dusty was in Eastern Championship Wrestling, man, that hit me like right in the heart. That was a really cool little interaction there. And Paul was, as usual, Paul was great, and then kind of taking that and then just gutting Cody with it so that he would just bleed and die in the ring right there, like, was just brilliant. That was beautiful.
He's hard. Paul, see, that's the thing with Paul Heyman, is he is so hard to top promo wise. Man, I've seen him eviscerate many wrestlers over the years, just in the promo. Can't throw a punch to save his life, as we saw at the pay-per-view, premium live event, the last one, like him doing this kind of punching, like his punches have not improved, but
nope.
But man, he sounds gruff, and he can cut a promo. So that's where his strong suit is, really. So
yeah, and there's been a lot of fun little things going on, like Sami Zayn becoming an honorary Uce, with some of the most hysterical vignettes and promos in the last 6 months that I've seen in decades. I mean, he's gotten so many guys to kind of crack up on camera too. Lots and lots of respect and appreciation for Sami there. And he's also kind of been the one that has driven a wedge between Jey Uso and now they have Solo in there as well. And so this past Monday, Jey came out, and it looked like he was going to defect and stand by Sami, and that isn't really what we got.
Nope. But that was very well told, because it was, man, you got the crowd reaction, and then the heel reaction once Jey stuck him, gave him that super kick and stuck him, and then yelled right in the camera, like, "You think I was going to choose you over my own blood?" Because if this was a real life situation, you wouldn't choose your friend over your own blood sometimes, because it's your blood,
Yeah.
It's your family, ultimately. So it's that was very well done. And also now it gives you WrestleMania hope for the Usos versus Sami and whoever. I know, like hell, he's trying to recruit Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens, like hell, is saying no. But I don't know how they're going to play that one out ultimately, where Owens would come to his senses and finally say, "Okay, I'll help you out."
Yeah.
The ultimate swerve would be if, honestly, Sami ended up swerving Owens, again, and rejoining the bloodline, like as a double, But I don't foresee that happening. However, that would be cool if it did,
Yeah. There's so many different ways that they can kind of swerve us on this.
It comes down to Sami, though, too, because he's in a great position where he's getting a reaction no matter what. He's being cheered like crazy, and they're going with it right now as him being that baby face, But I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to call right now, but really, it's
there's a lot more moving parts in this than I think I would have thought, maybe even just like 6 months ago, coming around like SummerSlam. It's like, oh, okay, you can kind of see down the road, and they really have, again, just dragged a lot of people in and out of this with Sammy and Kevin Owens. Do you think that Owens and Sammy are going to be the ones together at Mania, and are they going to finally unseat the Usos?
It's looking that way. However, that's the thing with this storyline, the twists and turns, and it's way more complex than people give it credit for. It's not as black and white and cut and dry as everyone thinks it is. So, I don't know. I mean, that would be great, but then where do you go from there? You know, like the chase sometimes is better than the catch. So, I mean, as Roman has proven, with his title reign.
Yeah.
So, again, if Cody dethrones him at WrestleMania, yeah, it's going to be, and if the match, and it's gonna come down to going back to the match being like I would say a Meltzer fucking 6-star performance, out of both of the guys. It's got to be a compelling match, or else the fans are going to just sit on their hands and not give a crap.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I can see
if the match can match the promos, that would be great. Like I would be totally invested in it.
Oh, and I think like once we get towards like the third act of the match where they're starting to kind of wind down, and I'm sure there's going to be a ref bump. There's going to be some people coming down at ringside, and they're just going to sprinkle all of this chaos in there, to kind of put everybody on the edge of their seat. And I in those instances, I can still, kind of suspend my disbelief and just kind of be in the moment there. And so that's pretty cool. But, looking at things more comprehensively, I guess, I just can't see Cody not being champion after WrestleMania. However it goes down, I just can't.
I mean, but then again, it comes down to who's Cody's next challenger after Roman Reigns. Are they going to do the rematch as the death, or are they going to go in a completely different direction where Cody's going to all of a sudden face new challengers, or is he even going to change the design of the belt? Even,
That's what I'm thinking. Like they're going to have a thing on Monday Night Raw, like right after Mania 14, where there's going to be one new title, maybe like a throwback to like the Winged Eagle, the same way Cody did with the IC title. I know there's been lots of people kind of throwing that around, but I think it'd be pretty cool to come out on Raw.
And to be fair, Cody himself has thrown that around. He's the one fueling those rumors too, by posting on his Twitter that he would love to bring this back, and it's the Winged Eagle. So that's it's nice to see that he wants to do something like that and be traditional again. Whether or not that's going to happen is another story, but
yeah,
that'd be great.
But even taking a look at what we randomly get Brock Lesnar and Omos. Very randomly, and I don't know what was happening. Like Bobby Lashley came back, and him and Brock had some words and some things, and they had some pretty entertaining segments on TV, and then all of a sudden MVP is just standing there with big black Groot and says, "Hey Brock, we want to let's do this at WrestleMania." And I'm like, why? What's going to be accomplished with this?
And see, I was wondering why they took a hard left turn with this, because they were smart money would have been the bet on Lashley versus Brock at Mania, again, which would have been more of a marquee match, but they took a sharp left turn on it and went with Omos. And I mean, I gotta believe they did that for the MVP connection, because maybe now they'll be, maybe now they're going to go into a direction where they're going to repackage Bobby Lashley as more of a badass heel. Which with MVP back talking as his manager again, which, let's face it, he needs. Bobby Lashley is not. he talks. I lose it right there. He's not a good promo. Not a good promo.
Well, and I also think it's because he's trying to, talk the talk of somebody who walks a different walk than he does. I don't buy him as, that street thug. I don't think that's him. And he is kind of reserved and kind of soft spoken, and I think they should embrace that somehow. I don't write for WWE, so I have no idea, but I just don't think that they've really found the niche for him yet.
Right. I mean, because, honestly, he's got all the tools going for him, Lashley does, except for that gift of gab, that talking, you know what I mean? Like, sorry, you could be the biggest guy in the world, but once you speak and, look, Mike Tyson had Don King speak for him most of the time. Whenever Tyson spoke, it was like, and I hate to equate it to the same thing, but that really, that's the biggest comparison I can make, really, because of the voices and because of the toughness, because West is tough in his own right. Mike Tyson, as we knew back in his prime, was one of the toughest son of a bitches ever. However, he starts talking, that post-match interview took you right out of it. You were more laughing at him, and you shouldn't be, because here's Tyson. His punches can knock your ass out. But Don King was the promo of that group, and he was very important to Tyson's initial run. And you need somebody like that, just like how Lashley needs an MVP or somebody, even if it is an MVP, if it's another manager that can just come up and do the talking for him, that is a really good promo, because it's really the only thing he's missing, is that convincing. If he can't convincingly do a promo, he needs somebody else to convincingly do it for him. Asuka has that same problem, by the way. Asuka, in my opinion, she's a killer, and if she had a badass manager talking for her, she would have it, because whenever she talks, of course, jokes are going to follow, because it's Asuka, She has accent. It's, nobody takes that seriously. I take her work seriously. I don't take the promo seriously. No. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and she walked out of the Rumble as the winner for the women's division, and she she picked Bianca Belair, and then we have Rhea Ripley taking on Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Maybe it's because I don't follow SmackDown every week like I tried to with Raw anyway. I haven't seen or heard a lot from Charlotte recently. Like, it made sense for me for Asuka to pick Bianca Belair. I'm a big fan of Bianca, and I was not at first. I thought she was kind of obnoxious, intentionally obnoxious as part of her character, but that just didn't really sit with me. But like over the last year and a half, I could not be more impressed. And so that, like, Asuka and her makes sense. But I don't know, when I look at Charlotte and Rhea, Rhea is the headline in that match because of what's been going on with Judgment Day and Dominic.
Yeah, for the last half year, or actually almost a year now, she's been consistently on TV. If it isn't Bayley in Damage Control, it's been Rhea Ripley. So, and then Bianca has been quite a bit on TV as well. And Bianca, going to her, strong, deceptively strong, and I would say out of the women that have come out of NXT in recent times, probably athletically one of the best, to come out. In the recent crop of women, I would say she's probably at the top. Rhea being also very good, but for a different reason. She's more of an attraction. Rhea has the promo, the look, she can do things in the ring that, like Rhea's more, I think, more of a total package. I think Bianca, Again, her promos do come off as obnoxious if you don't know her, but if you actually sit there and study her work, her ring work, it's probably one of the best, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
yep. And especially with Naomi and Sasha walking off, having her as kind of like a tent pole for the women's division worked out really well for her and for everybody. And I mean, having Charlotte there did too, but Charlotte is a foregone conclusion. If you need her to hold up the women's division or a match or anything, she's gonna show up and then some.
right,
she's a guaranteed win.
Right, and Charlotte already established herself as a superstar far before Sasha and Naomi walked out. Bianca had the daunting task of carrying it after, and was consistently there and consistently on TV, just like how Bayley was consistently on TV. I think Bayley comes off more as an annoying heel, so to speak. Sometimes you don't want her in Damage Control on your TV.
They are annoying.
But it's not gotten to X-Pac heat levels just yet.
No.
I would say if they're heavily featured for another year, it could get that way. But I think they're starting to. I think with EO and with them losing the women's tag, I think they pumped the brakes on them a little bit.
Yeah.
Io Sky and Dakota Kai. Yeah. They kind of pumped the brakes on them a little bit. And
it was kind of,
but
it was a little odd that Trish we've seen Lita off and on for a little while now. And so, seeing her, come back for, the one-off match here or there, that's cool. Because I know you and I have talked a lot about the women's division and how we can go back and take a look at like the Attitude Era on forward and see that there were women wrestlers and then there were Jello wrestlers, and that, all due respect, whatever they could have done to keep the division alive, everyone did. But Lita being able to come back and compete in the evolved women's division now, I think is awesome. Trish Stratus coming back, was a surprise, a welcome one. Seeing them with the women's tag team championships is very quizzical to me.
I have a take on that, okay? Because the thing with Lita was, okay, so, personality out the wazoo. She was far ahead of her time when it came to WWF women's wrestling back then, not very much. If you notice, she wasn't very much like she didn't become a women's division wrestler, like a diva wrestler, until after like the whole Hardy Boys run, the Team Extreme run, much later. They used her sporadically here and there, or she'd get beat up by, certain people or whatever, But it was when they had a women's division, or were starting to get one going, like I'd say in 2003-04. Time period is where she was starting to be used. And at that time, she was better than most, But we're dealing with, much like the UFC equation I like to make, where UFC Classic versus UFC Today, where UFC fighters are so evolved. Same with women's wrestling. It's so evolved now that putting the tag belts on Lita with Becky Lynch, is smart, because Becky Lynch is the now, and whereas Lita is the yesteryear. But also Lita, while she can do a few things, she can be next to a Bianca or next to a Charlotte very exposed, and you don't want to expose her legendary status. She's a Hall of Famer at this point, you don't want to expose somebody like that where it's like, oh shit, why did we make this woman a Hall of Famer? She's horrible in the ring, horrible, you don't want those questions to arise. So in my opinion, it's very smart to do that, because it protects quite a bit, and also, gives Becky something to do as well, because, she's not in contention for the women's belts anymore, not for the time being. So
No. And that's the thing. Even with the Legends having the women's tag belts, it's still a 6-woman tag match. So
right.
like the belts are going to be defended at Mania. But you're right, with to keep Becky out of the title contention for SmackDown or Raw women's titles, pairing her with Lita and Trish, and because Damage Control came back as a unit, a 3-woman unit, I think it does make sense. But yeah, I'd never really considered what it would be like with one of the Legends in there with one of the more current women wrestlers. That's a very good point.
Well, and the thing is too, it benefits Becky as well because you have 2 legends giving her the rub as well. Like, hey, this is not that Becky needs it, but it's nice to kind of acknowledge that. So, I and with and in terms of Trish, I mean, she was one. I remember when she started, she was horrible, 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 horrible. However, she got gradually better as time went on. So she actually applied herself and learned her craft. So she, and became a passable women's wrestler before her initial retirement. So yeah. And again, Lolita, again, she was just part of a different era of women's wrestling. I think that's what it comes down to. Much like the UFC equation, it was a different era. Like I'm not saying she's less than or whatever. It's just now the women's working style evolved so much that and you're talking like a decade plus, almost 20 years since Lita's done it full time in the ring. So it's quite a bit of a difference, really is.
And that is a good way. Well, and I think with Naomi and Sasha walking out as the active women's tag team championships, I think that really left a black eye on the WWE women's division, but also with the regime at the time and how they were handling things. And so there's, again, this is something that I think has a lot of moving parts as well, but it does make sense. But again, having the Legends as the current women's tag team champions in a 6-woman tag match is interesting.
Yep.
Like I think you're right on point, and you're absolutely correct.
It's another way to get more legends on the, more eyeballs on the product because, we're getting around Mania time anyway, too. And more legends on the card, the better. I mean, they wanted Steve Austin this year and they couldn't get Steve Austin. So we got Lita and Trish. And then we got hopefully the next person we talk about, which is John Cena. So it's, yeah.
Well, and if you did have like a short list of women legends that you wanted to come back, in any era, Trish and Lita are at the top of that list for whatever you want them to do. They were extremely significant in the era they came from, but having them come back now makes a lot of sense.
Right, and we're and then on the other opposite end of the coin, Beth Phoenix has made appearances this last year in and out of WWE. But however, Beth Phoenix, while she now is legendary status, she came along at a time where that was what that work rate. She can work with the newer women because she was working that style back in 2010. So 2009, 2010. She was actually kind of a pioneer of that hard-hitting, like the style of women's wrestling you see today. Beth Phoenix was doing back then.
She was way ahead of her time.
Very much. And and physically still looks great. She's bigger than Edge is, like she's got bigger biceps than her husband does, let's face it. And every single time they've brought her back in this past year, it hasn't ceased to be entertaining. It actually has been entertaining with seeing her because she fits right in with that current crop of women because she was working that style back then to begin with. So I think I think if anybody else were to be brought back, I would have to say maybe like possibly a Gail Kim, I would say, would be another legend that I could see trying to make a comeback and like trying to, that can probably hang with today's women. But again, it was a different time frame, or say like a Jazz, for example, women that actually had a wrestling style to them. Victoria is another good example.
Yeah.
Like women that were like kind of revolutionary in that way, where they were actually working like the way women work now. I think they would fit in better than most. So,
Yeah, like I think there's to maybe oversimplify things, but going back to like the Attitude Era and into the Ruthless Aggression Era, you have people like Victoria or Beth Phoenix that I think are cut from the same cloth as like a Sherry Martel or a Chyna, and then you have other girls that were cut from the cloth maybe more like Stacy Keibler. And
yeah.
there is not any shade or disrespect thrown around there. It is just a different division, and it's a different time now. And that there were those women back there, the Chynas and Victorias that could walk in today and hang and bang with, the top, the elite in the women's division.
And how can we forget like and she was just on the roster a couple of years ago, was Mickey James.
Yeah.
When she came along, it changed the game completely. And actually, I remember her WrestleMania 21 match with Trish, because Trish was only a couple of years into the business at the time and still learning her trade. And oh man, it was like Mickey. I don't want to say Mickey exposed her, but Mickey showed her in the match that she was far better than Trish was in the ring by far. She wiped the mat with her in that match. If you go back and watch, but
and she got the come back as a guest entrant in the Rumble as the Impact Women's Championship. Man, that's something that I would have never thought in a million years we'd see something like that. That was cool.
Yeah. And if you follow Impact now, she's in she's doing her retirement run right now, and she's doing a lot of like run-ins with Bully Ray, basically. Bully Ray returning over there and kind of making her life a living hell right now. So, it's entertaining to say the least. I would give that a YouTube watch. But
all right, well, and we do have Seth freaking Rollins and Logan Paul, but I don't think there's a whole lot to that now. I think we can maybe visit that again, maybe another week or so. But the other, the last big thing that I wanted to pick your brain about is Austin Theory defending the United States Championship against John Cena.
Yep.
I don't see. Well, and we had talked off air about Cena just eviscerating him. I mean, he emasculated him. It just left him sitting there like a little kid, wearing his dad's boots or something. I mean, I don't know. I just can't see what good this is going to do Austin Theory going into WrestleMania and afterwards. What do you think?
I mean, unless this is the promo to light a fire under his ass to finally show, hey, and finally, I think Theory has been on a really hot streak over this last year, where he was basically giving impending doom by losing his Money in the Bank briefcase, and basically not being able to cash it in like everyone thought he was going to. And they kind of they had some twists and turns with this whole heir apparent thing, and they made him like lose it Damian Sandow style, but then he came back from it better, more serious, more whatever, his work kind of got more aggressive, and it's continued to get more aggressive. Now, if this promo, I mean, hopefully it didn't accomplish, hey, it's a foregone conclusion that John Cena is going to win.
Well, that's the thing. Do you think he's going to win?
No. I don't see that. However, I hope in Austin Theory's case, it lights a fire under his ass to perform even more aggressive than he has. Like that would be the positive spin on it. Like, oh, all right, you're eviscerating me here. I'll show you in the ring. I'll make you look like why are you even a legend in the first place?
I know.
But he can outwork him for sure, and show him that way. I would like to see more of a spar. I would have liked to have seen more of a sparring match promo wise right out of the gate. I think with Cena going that heavy on him, that didn't come off positively for Theory at first.
And that's the thing. Like if they brought back Cena to put Theory over him at Mania, I mean that's a big check for Theory to be able to cash, and that's great. But again, I can't see Cena's part-time. Cena is now what he was calling out The Rock for 10 years ago.
Yep.
And that's fine, but I obviously can't see Cena, coming back and winning the U.S. championship. But again, I don't know. I'm just kind of scratching my head on the Cena when, just to the bone on that promo, shredding him. So hopefully Theory can come back from that, or like you said, use that to kind of get himself into the game, and that will make him look that much stronger.
Unless we're both wrong, and Theory comes back the next week, it went with him and Cena in the ring, and he just cuts a hell of a promo. He's got to cut something that eviscerates him even more. Like cut something to Cena back where he eviscerates him more, and not only that, also has to, I would say, go and perform, I would say, at a top level like he has, but like take it up another notch, because you're in the ring with Cena. So maybe the old 5 moves to doom don't work. Maybe we can go that route. I don't know. But honestly, I would like to see it spin positively. But as it stands right now, it's too early to tell. But from the first promo, that was bad. That was bad.
Yeah, and there's not too many people who could hang with Cena on the mic anyway, even if they do have, notes on their wrist or whatever. And so it's just going to be really kind of wild to see. I guess that's true. If like Theory were to come back next week and, kind of go back at him, I don't know. Again, it's just so odd because, Theory he tried to cash in his Money in the Bank for the U.S. title and failed. So that's 2 things that no one's ever done: cash it in on the U.S. title and then failed. So, that's doubly dubious in a very bad way. And I think he's done great since then to get the U.S. title and to not necessarily reinvent, but kind of tweak his character to be more in line with like the current regime and the product. And
that's why I have hope for him, because he's turned it around already once before and has kind of shoved it in everyone's face. I would like to see him do that again, only on a bigger level now with John Cena. That would be nice to see. If they continue on and Cena continues to make him look second rate, it's going to be a match that it's just going to be another match on the card. You might as well put it on the fucking pre-show. So
perfect.
Really? I honestly, I would like to see the spin positively towards Theory, because I've already expressed to you how much I think Theory is just a hell of a talent, and
I agree.
Has the ability to go to higher places down the line. I'm not saying tomorrow, but I'm saying, 5, maybe 6 years down the line, he's going to be a headline guy in my mind. If he continues to stay healthy and he continues to work on his character and his work in the ring, and find that sweet spot for himself, much like a Randy Orton did, over time, or like even a Cena did over time. I think Theory has the ability to do that as well in the modern era. It's not the same as those two names I mentioned, but
well, not yet.
No, but I mean, I've seen worse. So
Perfect. All right. Any closing thoughts on our little rundown of our pre WrestleMania show?
yeah, well, we also glossed over Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley. We talked Bobby Lashley, but we didn't talk the Bray Wyatt factor. So they're building up towards that, I believe, at Mania as well. So if they haven't announced it yet, I mean, it's going to be obvious because Bray.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it hasn't been announced yet, but they've obviously been building that on Raw for a couple weeks now.
Right. And with the Bray thing, it's not that they're aimlessly wandering with him. It's just nobody knows where the hell this character is coming from, and they can't piece it together. They can't quite piece it together. I think it's intriguing enough, but it's like I don't know. I'm not sure if this time around are they sure what do you think they know what they're doing with Bray this time around?
No.
Do you think anybody's been able to figure him out, really?
The biggest thing for me was when he was in the ring with Taker, and Taker walked over and just had those little words for him. Because even years ago, I was seeing parallels with him and Undertaker, with lots of caveats on there that he is not the next Taker or undefeated WrestleMania guy for 30 years, but very few people can come in with gimmicks or characters like they have and get them over in a believable and entertaining way. Very few people, and I don't think anybody has done it since Taker anywhere near as good as Bray Wyatt has.
Right, and he has superstar out the wazoo. It's the execution of what happens afterwards is what screws him over, I think. Because you even have me who's intrigued, and then I'm puzzled at the same time. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I'm watching that Pitch Black match back. I'm like, what the hell did I just watch here? Like, I am a fan of both men. I've Eli Drake. I've been following. I followed him when he was Eli Drake in TNA. Now LA Knight. I've followed his career. I like LA Knight's work a lot, and I like Bray's work a lot. And when he actually is able to work, and well, I don't know what that was. Big advertisement. It made me want to drink Pitch Black and try it. I mean, I tried it on a couple of these pods, and
I did. Yeah, I went out and bought a case of it, and it wasn't half bad. I think that may have been the whole point.
Maybe, I mean, if that was the point, mission accomplished. Getting me to buy a new soda, sure, but I was going to buy it anyway, regardless whether Bray was going to advertise it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll have more times to sit down and kind of go over the blueprints for what WrestleMania 39 will be, and yeah, perfect, awesome, thank you.
No problem.